Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. I'm your host, Rob Evans, and today I'm joined by Jim Huntzicker, mindset strategist, coach, and author of Mindset Breakthrough. So, Jim is very unique. He helps high achievers break through resistance, rewire old patterns, create success that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. And his work blends neuroscience, NLP, psychology to help leaders step out of that sabotage and into alignment. So today, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We're going to really dig into the hidden barriers that hold high performers back and how to reprogram them to get true freedom and growth. So, Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
So, my first question here is, what would you say that most high performers get wrong about mindset? Because I see with high performers, maybe it's around time, maybe it's around work ethic. I've got to work hard, I've got to grind and everything, and think, oh, that'll just naturally take me to a high performance outcome. But often that can just lead to burnout. So
And
tell
it
me what
does.
your insights are.
Well, we're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves, right? And so the stories I was telling myself, I realized were not beneficial to me. I was walking away from profitable businesses, and so it didn't make any sense. And then one day I looked back and realized, oh, wait, those were terrible stories I was telling myself about why I needed to do that. And so through some soul searching, I realized, like, we're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves, and we all have beliefs that limit us. And like you just said, but here's one great distinction to start out with too. Like, so there was six businesses I just walked away from because I realized I had money issues from growing up. But what that also taught me was that money's easy to make. Every business I went to, it was like the 5 to 800,000 US dollar mark that just that I walked away. I was like, okay, this is a point where, okay, I need to walk away. I'm making too much money. And I didn't know why that was. And I didn't realize it was about money. I just like, oh, I'm bored. I got to go on to something else. But it taught me money's easy to make. And so if you hear me say that right now and you're like, money's not easy to make, you have to work hard for money. You have a limiting belief buried there. So that's your first sign you have a limiting belief is that you think money has to be hard to make because it's not.
Tell me about, or we talked about this just briefly before we came on to air, because yeah, I reflect often with my guests around my money mindset, and we all have a money mindset which is developed as we're kids into teenagers and so forth, and then we've got to reprogram that. So tell us a little bit about yours, and then I'll share with you a little bit about mine and how you've been able to change that.
So what I realized was what the reason I was walking away from businesses that were profitable. Nothing went wrong with them. There was no revenue dip. There was no, nothing happened. I just stopped doing, and I could have sold the business. I could have sold the lists, and I didn't. And why I didn't realize for years later, but was because I had money issues from growing up. And I grew up, we were extremely poor till we weren't. When I was 4, we were homeless. We had to move in with my grandparents. And prior to that, my parents drank a lot and fought constantly because we were poor. They fought, we didn't have any money. So they fought, fought, fought. And then my dad quit drinking. My parents both quit drinking. And by the time I was 10, my dad went from driving limos and laying concrete to owning multiple gas stations and a real estate office. The only problem was my parents never stopped fighting about money. Now, the money was the problem. The fact that we had money was causing their problems. Now, my parents just weren't meant to be. I'm glad they were because I'm here. But when I was 12, they finally divorced because they just nonstop fought. And they were like, there was no abuse there, but it was like nonstop. Their fights were constant. And my room was next to theirs,
It's
so I heard them
constant.
constantly. So what did my child brain decide? Money causes conflict. It causes parents to fight and families to break up. So what I didn't realize as an adult, my adult mind was making that true. And so I kept walking away from businesses because I've been married 20 years. I have 2 beautiful kids. I didn't want to fight with my wife or break up my family. All subconscious, right? Like looking back, when I finally look back, I'm like, am I like a crazy person here? Like what on earth? Who walks away from like one of my businesses made 800,000 US in 1 year? And I'm like, I'm done. It was a crazy, like looking back, it was the craziest thing. But once I understood why, okay, I'm like, it made sense. And so you decide to believe things, right? So your beliefs are decisions you made. And you can decide to believe new stuff now that you know new things are true as an adult, but you need to tell your subconscious that. Like, here's another example. Like US shows, and I'm sure Australian shows the exact same way. From growing up, I'm 47, right? So when I grew up, 45 years ago, the TV shows we were watching, the people you loved, the people you related to were living in scarcity. They were living in poverty. They were living check to check. They usually drank a lot, and they were the funny ones. They were the people you liked and you related to. And the people you didn't like and kind of were the villains of the shows were
Mm.
usually the wealthy people on the shows, the people that had money that were kind of mean to the people you liked. So if you grew up like I did poor, the only exposure you had to wealthy people was these shows and they were jerks. So here, as an adult, I'm trying to get wealthy, right? This is the craziest thing. And this is the first indication I was able to change something. I would see a nice car, like a high-end car, Rolls Royce, Range Rover, whatever it was. And I would say rich jerk automatically. Like I'd see it like, and I'm
Yep.
driving a nice car. Don't forget, I'm like, I'm trying to get wealthy myself. And your subconscious will never let you become somebody you don't like. So there's twofold, right? I was running from money because I didn't want to fight with my wife, and I didn't like rich people apparently, right? So I had to reprogram that. And I'll give you guys a simple framework here in a minute. That one of the ways I reprogrammed the surface level limiting beliefs. And so now I see a nice car, a high-end car, a Range Rover, Rolls Royce, whatever, and I say, look at all the abundance automatically. It
Mm.
was an automatic change, but it wasn't automatic. I had to change that belief. And just because you believe something like on the conscious level, that you need to change it on the subconscious level. That's where everything is stored. That's where all your beliefs are. That's where all your decisions are. That's where everything that you do automatically comes from your subconscious. And so you got to think of it like the thoughts are coming from the subconscious mind, and your feelings, how you feel, your emotions are coming from the subconscious. And so that really, when you understand that distinction, it changes the game. And so it takes a lot of like, so here, I love Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, does a lot of good for a lot of people's lives. I lost 60 pounds going to his first event. I quit drinking. At his first event, I quit drinking. I didn't know what I was going to get out of his event. I drank a lot, but I was super successful. I did well. And I left his event, never drank again. Then I lost 60 pounds. Love Tony, but I could never get to my limiting beliefs with him for some reason.
Mhm.
And so in my soul searching journey, when I figured all this stuff out, I learned this. There's two states of being: powerful, when you feel good, when you feel energetic, you feel resourceful, creative, you feel good. And then there's primal, where you feel bad: anxiety, stress, fear, overwhelm, where you go automatically. So anytime you go into a primal state when you don't feel good, that's where your limiting belief is buried. You have a belief there that's causing that stress, that fear, that anxiety, and so that's where you start writing down your thoughts right there. Like okay, you go primal, start writing down your thoughts, and you'll find your limiting beliefs buried there, and then you could change them. But until you know what they are, you can't change them, right? You can't change what you're not aware of. I mean, the first step is awareness.
Yeah, yeah, really well said. The mine around the money was similar. When I was a child, I used to see mum and dad, they'd argue, or maybe it was more mum arguing with dad who was silent. But over time, I saw that it was always around money. And of course, when you're a young child, you just think, well, if the food's always there, your basic needs are always taken care of. So you don't think about money and is there enough? You just see your life. Then over time, I started to realize that a lot of the challenges and the arguments were always around money, and mum and dad never had money. And I had an uncle who did have money, and the way that mum and dad used to language it to me was that he was mean. So therefore, because he had money, he was mean. So
Right.
all people that had money are mean, just like you were saying there before in the show. So for many years, I'm like, oh, well, what I was being taught was if you want to have money, you're going to be mean. So don't have money. That's why we don't have money. Even though they never said it that way, that's what the language was. And then I quickly learned that, but that's not the way that I want to be. Why can't you be both? Why can't you be really happy, really loving, and have the money and not have the stress and not have to have the arguments instead? And that's the way that I went with it. But gee, I don't. It was probably not until I was in my mid 20s that I actually realized what was going on for mum and dad. I'd left the home then and I was building my own life. And I thought, man, I want to be financially free. I want to be independent. I worked that out when I was about 15. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
interesting. But that was a limiting belief for me for a long time that, oh, if I make a certain level of money, I'm going to all of a sudden flick that switch, almost like on iRobot, where they go from green to red. You go
Yeah,
from good to being evil now.
right. For sure.
Yeah,
And you're gonna be a jerk. You have to be, right? And so if you believe that, also if you believe all wealthy people are jerks, you're never gonna let yourself become one. You'll
it'll be
find ways to
true.
get rid of the money.
Hmm. Mm. So true. So tell me, and maybe this is linked to this one. I see um, so many successful people, or outwardly successful people, shall we say. They've got the cars, the assets, all that kind of stuff. But when you get to talk to them, they actually still feel really stuck. Or here's a good example. I went to a wedding of one of my clients, and this guy is very, very senior in one of the biggest brands here in Australia. He's retired now, so probably earning maybe 400 to $500,000 Australian a year. And he was so envious of me because I'm running my business, doing what it is that I love. And he said, "Oh, I'm just so envious of, what it is that you do." And I said, "Do you love what you do?" And I already knew the answer. I said, "Oh, do you really
Yeah.
love what you do?" And he said, "No." But he had been doing it for so long that what he loved was the lifestyle and the money, but he hated the job.
So
And
he's chasing the money and missing the point.
yeah, that is right. So why is it that we have so many successful people that either feel stuck, don't love what it is that they're doing?
Their beliefs, right? Like, so these are the questions that led me to do this for a living, right? Like, so I was in the real estate business. All my businesses, I was a real estate entrepreneur, from an agent to flipping houses to flipping apartments to creating online products. I did lots of stuff in the real estate and real estate investing space. I was always chasing money, but I was missing the point. And so for me, that's why I like once I figured all this out, I'm like, do I go back into real estate or do I use this knowledge to help people and build a passion-driven business, right? Like, because that wasn't passion, that was money. And so that's how I got here. That's how I decided to teach. Like, this was all of this, the book writing, everything I learned was was for me to figure out what was going on. Like, why was I walking away from businesses? Why did I hate money? Why did it seem like, like why did I see a nice car and say rich jerk? Like, what was that? And so what I realized is that most entrepreneurs feel stuck, right? Like, most entrepreneurs, they even ones that have like mastered every strategy and created $1 million businesses have self-worth issues.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that? And so that's the answer I was trying to uncover with all of this. And I started out on a journey I thought would take a month or two. And 2 years into that journey, I was like, I looking back, like, wow, because I started studying. I went back. The best information I found was from like the late 1800s and early 1900s. What I realized is there is no new information from about 1960 on. Everybody's just regurgitating the same stuff. But all due respect, everybody's trying to help. Everybody's got, I'm not knocking anybody who's
Coming from a
helping.
good place.
But a lot of people made it complex and convoluted because they're trying to make it their own. And so I was struggling to use like today's, motivational, inspirational, even Tony Robbins stuff. Like, I got a lot of benefit, but there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand or couldn't get to. And so when I went back to like the turn of the century, guys like James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, or if you heard of Charles Haanel, who wrote the Master Key System. That is some of the best literature I have ever read in my life. And that there, though, Charles Haanel was actually, Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. That was one of his mentors. That's how I found him. And I'm like, wait, he had a mentor. Let me find that guy. And so once I went back to the early 1900s, everything made sense to me. All the stuff I had learned from the guys from the recent that are still speaking today that I didn't fully understand or wasn't able to grasp, like it just was a little, convoluted or too complex. Everything made sense when I went back and studied the guys from the early 1900s. And what I realized is this is a common thing over and over and over. It's a pattern, right? Like the entrepreneurs, because we have beliefs from growing up, most people, 80% of people in the world have money issues from how they grew up because most people grew up in scarcity. Most people don't grow up with money, right? And so most people, in of the 20% that don't have money issues, like they have money, money's still problematic for them. Not all, but like about 19% of them. There's about 1% of the population that is taught the proper way, what money is, how to use money, how to grow money, and how to keep money. Most people are not. Like, and so what I realized in this journey is that I never learned about money. Like, here, I'm in my early 40s, and I'm like, I never learned about money. Like, I didn't go to college. I've been working full time since I was 14. So I never learned about money. I just kept going, going, going. I kept making money, but then I didn't realize I was also running from it. It's
Yes.
funny how that is. But that's the thing is, like, here's these entrepreneurs that have mastered every strategy. but they still feel unfulfilled. That's who I work with. The guys I work with have big businesses, multiple houses, multiple cars. That on the surface are doing really, really well, but they're miserable. Like your buddy there. You told me, he's jealous of you. This guy's making 500 a year, and he's jealous of you because he's miserable. Because and you want to know what his problem is? A lot of times these guys, when I come to, and this guy included, the first question I ask them is, "What do you want? Like, what do you want out of life? Like, where are you headed? Like, what is the goal? What's the end game? Because if if you can't find love in your journey, the
Yeah.
destination is never going to
No
get you there.
point. Yeah.
Right. So you have to. So most of what I do with the people I work with, and this is like huge, is we start with purpose. Like, what do you want to do? Like, who are like if your business, like your guy, like the guy you mentioned there, if you have a big business that isn't doing it for you, well, then go volunteer, start a charity, give to a charity, find
Mm.
something that moves you, right? Find something that makes you feel good and volunteer time to it. Not just money, like money is one way to do it, but volunteer time, do something, have a purpose, have something to go after. So if you do decide to retire, which I don't recommend because that's just like a death sentence for me, but to
Yeah.
each their own. But you have something to do after. You still have a purpose then.
Yeah.
This is why like so many mothers that are like, stay-at-home moms that they fall into this deep depression after the kids leave the house is because the kids were everything. And now the kids are gone and they have nothing, right? And so I've made sure my wife has something to focus on so that she when the kids do go away, she's got her purpose, right? And so um that's the problem for all these entrepreneurs is they were focused on money and missing the point, and they don't have a purpose in life. And so if you have a purpose-driven business like you're good, right? Like just keep going and going and going, and you're happy. You're doing what you love, and you're helping people. If your current business is a big business, like a lot of like one of the guys I work with, he makes over 10 million a year, and he's like doing drugs in his office every day, and and his wife's divorcing him now. I'm like, so dude, like I'm like who cares about the money? Like you've made enough money already to like stop and like he's only 41, mind you. And so I'm like, what's the point? Like, what are you doing? So we had to set him up like with a purpose, and we had to get. And now that he's got this vision of where to go, he's like a different person. Like once we get this stuff straight, like their face changes. Like I can see them a light turn on. It's incredible, and it's because they have no purpose. That's the problem.
How, with that purpose, how important is the why that sits behind it?
That's everything, right? Why we do anything is why we do everything, and that like you might have heard that before, but it's very true. And so, why that's exactly how we get to the purpose. We find why they want to do what they're doing, right? Like how did they get there and why? And so, a lot of people, it's like, okay, let's go back to like the most recent one. I had a guy that he makes big money. He had a bunch of land that's vacant, and he had a soft spot for single moms coming from for us for like the coming over the border from Mexico. And so he's like, there's so many that they don't have anything. They have two kids. I'm like, start building a small house community then. Like you have the money to do it. Like why would you not like use some of your land, put 100 small houses and start giving them away to single moms? Like if that's what you feel strongly about, because he was raised by a single mom, by the way. So that's why he felt so strongly for that. And so it changed everything. He's like, oh, he's like, thank you so much for this gift. I'm like, dude, you told me. Like, I just pulled it out of you. Like I like you already knew this. Like, that's the most amazing thing with the high achievers I work with. All of us know what to do already. It's all inside us. It's just
Yeah.
you need the right prompts. And usually, if you're struggling, you need somebody to help you pull the weeds away. Because what neuroscience tells us is based on our belief system for what we gathered growing up and what we decided to believe. We only see about 12% of conscious reality around us. 88% is filtered out. 88%. I mean, it's mind-boggling. But so once you change your filters, once you change what you believe, you start seeing differently, and that's the epiphany. And it's the most amazing thing. And it took me several months of hardcore studying till I had my first epiphany when I was like, holy crap. Like I now for me, by the way, that was seeing an expensive car and be like, look at all the abundance. Instead of saying, look at that rich jerk. And by the way, most of the wealthy people I've met in my life are incredibly gracious and generous people, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course there's rich jerks, and of course there's poor jerks, but most of them are not.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think needs to happen for like most people, they're not driven, right? What I would call they have a mediocre, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but have a mediocre existence. They're not driven. They don't have a vision for themselves. They're really doing enough to get through the week, to make it to the weekend, to distract themselves enough so that they can get back to Monday and do it all again. They go through life through the different stages with meet somebody, career, kids, don't work on
Like
the
they're checking boxes, right?
yeah,
Like,
don't work on the relationships, and just hope at the end of this they've got enough money to retire and do all those sorts of things. Whereas like I know what my journey is to get to where I am, and it just surprises me. Like I talk to people like you and like so like-minded and so driven, understanding your purpose, your vision, your why behind it, helping other people do that. And yet I will talk to some people where if I'm coaching them to improve their like the health strategy part of their life. And I said, if you keep doing what you're doing, you may only live till 60. And their response is, "Yeah, that's okay."
it's
I'm like,
wild.
I'm like,
I'm on
seriously, what?
my goal is 150, by the way. We have too much
Yeah,
technology and too much advancement today, too much biohacking available to not make it well past 125. And
yeah,
but if you tell yourself 60 is it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to
that'll be
die at
the
60.
number. Yeah, it's like I have, and I'm just be there dumbfounded, and I'm like, I have no chance of being able to help you if you are settling at 60. And I said, that's 18 more years from where you are right now. Yeah, that's okay.
Because they're miserable. They're not happy, right? Like they're chasing they're missing the point of life, right? They're focused. What a lot of people this right tip right here could be worth the cost of listen. The cost of listening to this is most people are miserable because they spend so much time scrolling and scroll. Like
Yeah,
I'm not on social media. You won't find me. I won't give you a link today because I won't respond to it. Like I
mm,
don't want people being on social media. Like I speak live, I could do podcasts, and that's how people get to me because the social media is a trap, and they know what you like, so they keep giving you the garbage that makes you feel
yeah,
like less of a person. They make you feel like comparing yourself to other people, and so while you're miserable, you're comparing yourself to somebody else's fake life, right? Like
yeah,
like most of the stuff on there's not even real,
yeah.
right?
That's right.
Like it's fake.
Now, yeah,
Like
it's
people
fake.
take
And
pictures in front of jets that don't even get on the jet. Like that's
that's
all
right. Yeah,
nonsense.
yeah,
Sure, people do fly in private jets, but just understand most of the private jets you see on social media, people aren't getting on those. They're just going to take a picture in front of them, like, hey, look at me. So,
yeah,
like,
that's
don't
right.
compare yourself to somebody else's fake life. And so, unless you're using social media to make money, which if you are, great, then hey, fantastic. But if you're not making any money on social media and you're on it more than like once or twice a week for like 20 minutes, you're doing yourself and your family a huge disservice. Huge. Like, I don't even have social media on my phones because I'm not going to check it on there. So what do I care? I check it about once a month because I do have Instagram and I'll see if somebody sent me a message. But it's once a month. My email's on there. Email me. Like so you can find my website. You can contact me directly. The place to find me is not social media because it's poison for your mind.
Yeah. Jim, I'd like to tap into perhaps where you are with your business because obviously you've had a change yourself. So you said you're 47, I'm 57. I have more clarity right now in my career and life than I've ever had before, and I'm excited about the unknown, excited about the future. I don't believe that I've reached my full potential yet. I think we've got limitless space in that. Based on where you are with your career right now, what would you say what's next for you?
I'm just trying like my mission, right? Like my purpose is to help as many people as I can. My goal is to help 10 million people become the best version of themselves possible. Like the people you're talking about that are 42 years old and basically given up, right? They're like, 60, I'd be good. The reason they're good dying at 60 is because they're miserable right now, right? And so that's all the stories you tell yourself. We're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. And so my goal is to help as many people crack out of it because like I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't realize, how like behavioral psychology worked, how our beliefs, the belief loop, right? You have a belief, it creates a thought. Your thought creates a feeling. The feeling creates the action you take. And the action you take creates a result. And guess what that result does? It reinforces the original belief,
Mm.
right? So you have this, that's why you keep having a pattern of the same thing because you're in the same cycle. And if you change the belief, you can change everything. And that's all with the stories. Like here's a very powerful thing to do. And this is something that you can do right now, anywhere you are, because we all have messed up thoughts. Our thoughts aren't our own. That's a story for another time. But the reason you have messed up thoughts is because they're not yours. Label thoughts and facts as they come in, right? Like you have a messed up thought. Like we all have them every day. We're like, that is messed up. I don't like that thought. I don't believe that. Why would I even come in my mind? Because they're not yours. But forget that for now. Just label that as a thought. And when you override that thought, when you say, what I do believe, and this is all just in your head, you're not talking out loud, right? Like what I do believe is this. And after you do that about 20 times for that thought, your subconscious is going to automatically override it. Now, that's not the end, right? Because this is about progress, not perfection, because there's no end game here. This is a way of being, right? Like so this is just how to live and not let anything affect you. Like let everything bounce off like it doesn't matter. And that turning yourself from primal to powerful is the name of the game, right? Like when every time you go primal, like I go primal every day, but the difference is I don't live there, right? Somebody cuts me off, I'm like, oh man, that guy's having a bad day, but I'm not, right? Like I'm not gonna let him get to me because if you watch that guy, he's gonna go cut everybody else off too.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
has
Yeah.
nothing to do with you, right?
Yeah.
But you let it like people like go cut him back off or get all mad and go to work and they're mad at work and they get home,
Yeah.
they tell their wife about it,
Yeah.
like it was a 30-second event that happened this morning, and you're still telling your wife about it at night because because then it affects your personality, right? It affects your whole day. Or you could just give it a meaning of, man, that guy's having a bad day, but I'm
Yeah.
not. Like that's too bad for him. I hope, pray for him. Say something nice to him. Send him some love because he clearly needs it. And give it meaning that serves you. Like, why do we give anything meaning, Rob, as humans? Why do we give anything a meaning that doesn't serve us? It's the craziest thing. I don't care if it's a death. I don't care how shitty the situation is. I don't care what happens to you, because we all have terrible stuff that happens to us. No matter what it is, why don't we assign a good meaning to it? Like to learn to make us grow versus drag us down, right? Like if it hurts, let it hurt, right? Let it hurt for 30, 90 seconds and then be done with it. Then give it a meaning that serves you. Because giving it a meaning that doesn't serve you is your 42-year-old that's ready to be dead at 60. That's because he's been giving bad meaning to everything and living in that bad meaning over and over and over again. Every time somebody cuts him off, oh, woe is me. Oh, why me? Oh, mo me. Oh, my. Start thinking about other people and changing your focus, right? Like if you focus on other people and not internalize everything, life gets a lot easier. Try to make somebody else's day good. Watch how good you feel, right? Like, have you ever just hugged somebody? Like I'm not a hugger, but every time somebody hugs me, do you want to know what happens? I smile every time, right? So maybe you just need a hug, right? Like it's kind of funny, but it's true. Like you just tell yourself the story that brings you down. Like why in the world would we do that? Like why would we ever tell ourselves a story that doesn't bring us up, right? Like even death, right? Like my wife's father died recently. And of course, he died unexpectedly. He was super healthy. He died way too young. And my wife was really sad about it. But we sat there and said, okay, babe, like you can dwell on your dad's death, but wouldn't it be better every time you think about him to think about the good times with him? To think about what a great dad he was, and what a great person he was, and what a great human he was, versus thinking about your dad and then you cry because you think he's dead and gone, and I can't spend any more time with him. Like it's sad. You should feel that. You should grieve, but then now you grieve. I didn't say minutes or hours. I'm like, it was a couple days. And I'm like, okay, you've grieved. Now let's give good meaning to your father's death. So every time you think about it, it gives you something good to think about, and you smile. And what a goofball your dad was, and how a great dad he was, and what a great person he was, and great. And so it just through talking about that, she went from crying to smiling, and then we were laughing, right? And because she was giving it a negative meaning, which everybody does, death sucks. But once decided to give it a good meaning, now every time
Every-
she can't stop talking about good stories, right? Good stories. Laugh. Remember when he did this? What about that? He loved my kids. He was, my son was like his best friend. So let's talk about that stuff. Let's remember those stories. And same thing with my kids. I'm like, let's remember the good stories of grandpa. Like he's gone, but he's only gone if we let it be, but we could always remember the good times with them. And so then they perk up and they smile and we laugh about it. Now we have a great time talking about them where it's not a sad event. If I didn't do that, it would be a sad event every time he comes up because he's dead now, right?
That's right. That's right. Jim, a couple more questions before we go. I put a big emphasis when I'm coaching with my clients around the health and wellness side of things, because I look at it like this. It's like the foundation, and if that's really
100%.
weak, then whatever you build above is going to come crumbling down.
Look,
Uh,
the body's the basis, right? The body, you got to have your body. You got to have a strong foundation with your family, your business. Like it's a full spectrum, right?
yes. So I always like to get an understanding about what your own health wellness regime is, what a typical day looks like for you, to just give the listeners a bit of an idea. I like to
Yeah.
walk the talk.
Yeah, well, I am 47. I'm in the best shape of my life. I am shredded. I am in like crazy good shape. My wife loves that because I used to be fat. When we were married, I was fat. Actually, when we got married, I was fat. So now I'm not fat. I'm very much the opposite of that. I do intermittent fasting. I don't ever eat until about 11:30 in the morning. Not like hardcore every day. I do it 5, 6 days a week. Like on the weekends, we'll go have breakfast in the morning sometimes. But ever since I've done intermittent fasting, one, my body just works better. It like because we like our bodies were not made to eat 3 times a day. We're like going back to caveman days, we would eat like maybe every 36 hours, right? So you got to think about like our brains and our bodies were made for a different time. And so once I started doing that, weight also shredded off. I used to do hardcore cardio. I'd crush a stair machine for 60 minutes. I played ultimate frisbee, which is like rugby with a frisbee. It's
Okay.
super
Yeah.
fun. I love it. I would sprint like 30, 35 times in 70 minutes. It was unbelievably fun. However, I tore my rotator cuff and it was keeping fat on me because what I started doing recently was about a year ago, walking uphill. And so I stopped all intensity cardio. I lost 25 pounds. I was ready shredded in really good shape. And all the fat I had, like my wife was like, okay, you're too skinny now because but doing the high intensity cardio was keeping fat on me for protection. So, but back to the diet, like I don't eat gluten, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat bread. Um, all those things they bog you down. Like 95% of adults can't process dairy, right? So once I stopped dairy alone, I lost like 12 pounds. I was fat back then, but also bananas. I was eating bananas every day, not before a workout. And that was like 7 pounds in a week once I stopped bananas. So you really got to focus on what you eat and the sugar. And like here's a crazy thing. My teeth. I used to have really bad teeth because I ate terribly and I drank pop and or soda, whatever you call it, and so lots of sugary stuff in there. I don't chew gum. I don't eat sugar. I don't drink pop. I don't drink anything carbonated. And right before COVID, I had a cavity. I went back to the doctor about a year and a half. I did like mid 2021, and he's like, teeth are perfect. They look great. And I'm like, what happened to that cavity that was in there? Like, I'm like, look at the X-ray. Like you said, it was big and it needed to. He's like, oh, he's like, well, it's rare, but cavities do go away on their own. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, well, I'm pretty healthy, and I started to look into it. And I also have these things in these bottom teeth. He said I have to pull the teeth to get new teeth put in, and they're repairing
Right.
themselves. So this is how crazy, Rob, it can get when you get super healthy and you're not putting all these impurity, all this bad, processed sugar and garbage in your body. My teeth are improving on their own. It's so I don't go to the dentist anymore. Like he told me that. I looked into it. It's true. I'm super healthy. I don't put bad stuff in my mouth. I don't chew gum. I don't eat sugar. And my teeth are like these huge divots you can't even see. He's like, we're going to have to pull those and put implants in at some point because they're too big. They're growing back. It's wild. Like I didn't even know it was possible. But when you get to the other side of health, miracles can happen. And so that's like and so then I'll eat between about a 7 hour window. Like I stop eating at
Yeah.
6:30. I start at 11:30 and I don't eat that's my typical week. And so your body just works better. Mine worked better.
Yeah.
It's easy to maintain weight. Like I don't weigh myself because it doesn't matter. Like the
Yeah.
other day, actually, like about a month ago, I put on a pair of nice pants. I'm like, they didn't fit. They were too big. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I weighed myself and I lost like that's what I lost about 15, 20 pounds. And I'm like, what on earth? Like it was good, but I put the weight back on because I was too skinny. My wife did not like me that skinny, so I had to put the weight back on.
Nice. Love it. So, Jim, this has been, we could keep talking for hours, I am
Oh, of
sure.
course.
Um, Tell us about Obviously, where people can get a copy of your free book, and we're going to put the links below here. But if people would like to work with you, love your energy, how can people do that?
Mindsetbreakthrough.com. They go to my website and I work one-on-one with people. I have group environments where where we work with other where we all do stuff together. We take what's in Mindset Breakthrough the book and dive super deep. Like that's basically the fundamentals that kind of open your eyes to what's possible, what's happening in your system, in your in your mind, in your subconscious. Basically the front of your brain is the conscious, the most of the brain is subconscious. And then we go really deep. We figure out, like I said, most people I start working with, especially one-on-one, we dive into purpose because they don't have it. They've been chasing money and missing the point. And that's why they're miserable. That's why they're getting divorced. That's why they're doing coke in their office every day when they're making $10 million a year, is because they're not fulfilled, right? They got all this money and that everything, they fly private and they're miserable, right? So what's the point? Let's get a purpose. And so that's really the first step. And so if you're miserable, like that 42-year-old you mentioned that was ready to die at 60, like you need to find purpose, find something to do, give back, go give blood, right? Like just do something to help other people, and it will change the way you view things. And oh, hey, I had mentioned a tool, right, to get rid of surface level limiting beliefs, and it's super easy. I'll explain it in 2 seconds. Take a piece of paper and write two lines down the middle, make 3 columns. In the column on the left, you write the old limiting beliefs. And that's, remember when you go primal, when you feel fear, anxiety, stress, that's right there is where you have a limiting belief. You write down limiting belief on the left side. In the middle column, you write the new empowering decision, right? So let's just say you're bad with money. I'm not good with money. We don't have to overthink these things. In the left, you write, I'm bad with money. The new empowering decision can just be, I am good with money. And then in the third column, you write, the evidence of that decision, like even like saving $10 a check, or even finding money on the street, like abundance is everywhere, right? Like look at all the wealth, look at all the like finding evidence is easy, and then you record it in your voice notes. You take the middle column and the new evidence, and you record it in your phone, and then you listen to it 3 times a day, and you're reprogramming your subconscious with your own mind. That is how I started. I switched from seeing nice cars, saying rich jerk, to saying, look at all the abundance. Was that exact, like I reprogrammed my subconscious with my own voice. Super powerful. But we can go on for hours and hours. And so, but I want to make sure I mentioned that framework. I want to make sure I gave it to people. But it's in the book. You can get the book for free on my website. Go to mindsetbreakthrough.com. It'll take you to my website. You can download it for free. I've had several Australian downloads in the last about 2 months ago. There were several. I don't know what happened. There were several Australian downloads. So I'm like, all right, rock and roll. The Australian audience like this stuff.
Nice stuff. All right, this has been fantastic. I'm going to put all the links below here so that you can get in touch with Jim. This has been fantastic, Jim. I want to thank you today. It's been an honor having you on the show. I'm going to give you the closing word. If you could maybe in 30 seconds tell us what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I've ever received is, well, I would say it's what I gave on this show because it changed my life.
Yeah.
Labeling thoughts as thoughts and facts as facts, because you get crazy thoughts and then you get down on yourself about them, right? Like you have self-worth issues because of them, right? You're like, well, why do I think that? I'm a bad person. And your thoughts aren't your own. If you started doing research on where thoughts come from and the ether and how you even hear me right now, it's vibration, right? Like there's frequency in the air. And so when you really understand the fundamentals of how everything is energy, it's a wild world. I started with human psychology and human behavior. I ended up in quantum physics, like literally in my 2-year journey. And so it's a fascinating world, but just understand your thoughts aren't your own. And to label your thoughts as thoughts and facts as facts, it changed my life because it gave me freedom. It's like, okay, this is about, I don't believe this. What I do believe is it, just change it, right? And it'll change your, and then you don't go primal often. And when you do go primal, you don't live there. You're like 30 seconds, a minute, and you're like, all right, I'm out. Let's go. Today's a good day. I feel outstanding.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Jim. Great advice today. It's been an honor having you on your show.
Thanks, Rob.